Euro area at negative 8.3%, and Japan at negative 5.3% in 2020. Growth in the emerging markets and developing economies is forecasted to contract by 3.3% in 2020 as a result of weaker external demand and disruption associated with domestic containment measures. Declining commodity prices added to the challenging growth in the emerging markets and developing countries. While other countries are struggling to reopen the economy, China economy bounces into growth after a steep slump in the first quarter of 2020. For the year, the China economy is projected to grow at 1.9% and rebound strongly to 8.2% growth in 2021. India's economy is projected to contract by 10.3% following a longer period of lockdowns and slower recovery. Growth in India is projected to pick up to 8.8% in 2021 with the resumption of normal economic activities. The overall growth in the emerging markets and developing economies is expected at 6.0% in 2021. World trade, as reflected through weak demand due to disrupted global value chains and limited international travel, is projected to contract by 10.4% in 2020. Nevertheless, as the global economy improves, world trade is projected to rebound to 8.3% growth in 2021. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, National Economic Performance 2020 and Prospect for 2021. Malaysia economy is expected to contract by 4.5% in 2020 before rebounding between 6.5% and 7.5% in 2021. The pandemic has hit the Malaysian economy severely in the second quarter of 2020, with GDP contracted by 17.1%. Weak growth has recorded across all economic sectors because of weak external demand and strict containment measures imposed to combat COVID-19. Nevertheless, there is sign of economic recovery as activity gradually pick up since the reopening of the economy in early May 2020. Thus, the Malaysia economy is expecting a gradual recovery in the second half of 2020 as both domestic and external demand improves. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, state economic performance in 2020 and prospect for 2021. In Sarawak, our economy is expected to contract between 3.5% and 5% this year. Negative growth is expected across all sectors of the economy, with the worst hit being the tourism and manufacturing sectors. The decline in tourism has spillover effect on other services sectors, particularly affecting the transport and logistics, hotel and accommodation, wholesale and retail trade, as well as food and beverages industries. For the first 9 months of 2020, visitors' arrival contracted by 64.1% due to travel restriction and closure of international border. The services sector is expected to register a negative growth of 1.4% in 2020. We anticipate that the tourism industry will take some time to fully recover. The manufacturing sector is projected to contract by 6.9% in 2020 as production activities were disrupted across the global supply chains and firms were constrained to operate at limited capacity, mainly during the first 3 months of Movement Control Order MCO period. In the mining sector, growth is projected to contract to 2.9% in 2020, attributed to lower production of crude oil and natural gas. The sharp decline was due to the MCO, as well as the ongoing maintenance works and the disruption of Sabah Sarawak gas pipeline, particularly in the first half of 2020. Activity in the construction sector was also disrupted, as almost all activities came to a standstill during the MCO lockdowns. Many firms and contractors were struggling to comply with the strict COVID-19 standard operating procedure, while also having to face with the shortage of construction materials and workers due to supply disruptions and cross-border restrictions. Thus, the construction sector is projected to register negative growth of 9.5% in 2020. The situation, however, is expected to gradually improve, and for 2021, this sector is anticipated to register a stronger growth. Due to lockdowns imposed by countries across the globe, particularly in the first half of 2020, the agriculture sector is projected to contract by 1.5% in 2020. For the first 5 months, production of palm oil contracted by negative 2.1% before it gradually picked up starting June 2020. With the easing of the COVID-19 lockdowns, the palm oil industry is gradually recovering, entering the second half of 2020, supported by improvement in global consumption. The 100% exemption from export duty on crude palm oil, crude palm kernel oil, and processed palm kernel oil starting 1st July 2020 to 31st December 2020 under Penjana initiative further adds to the increasing demand, notably from China and India. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, demand side. On the demand side, trade slowed down since the last quarter of 2019. The situation was made worse by the pandemic, with restriction on travels and lockdowns by countries across the globe. For the first 8 months of 2020, total trade contracted by 20.9%. Both export and import experienced double-digit contraction of 24.8% and 12.1% respectively. Besides lower demand from importing countries on oil and gas, the decline in crude oil price dampens further the growth in export. Crude oil prices dropped by 34.3%, or from USD 65.1 per barrel dollars in the first 8 months of 2019 to USD 42.8 per barrel in the first 8 months of 2020. Export to our major importing countries, largely from Japan and Peninsular Malaysia, contracted by 15.1% and 36.9% respectively. At the same time, import of capital and intermediate goods dropped by 11.4%, in line with the slowing down of economic activities, particularly during the MCO period. Private investment is expected to contract by 11.3% in 2020, as a lot of groundwork has been put on hold, adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Private investors and firms are anticipated to remain on a cautious note amid slower production and disruption to global supply chains. Growth in public investment is also projected to drop significantly in 2020 due to a slowdown in the economic activities affected by the movement restriction and COVID-19 mitigation measures. Public consumption is projected to expand at 33.6% in 2020, with higher spending on supplies and emoluments. More spending, particularly on the COVID-19 measures by both the Sarawak and federal government, are expected to contribute to the growth in public consumption. On the other hand, private consumption is projected to decline by 1.9% in 2020. The strict MCO has largely affected household spending, resulting in widespread income losses across the wide spectrum of business sectors. However, the disbursement of Bantuan Khas Sarawak Kusayang and Bantuan Prihati Nasional, as well as the implementation of loan moratorium, has provided some cushioning on consumption spending. Overall, the state economy is projected to gradually recover once the COVID-19 pandemic situation improves, driving both domestic and external demand. Thus, the state economy is projected to grow between 6.0% to 8.0% in 2021. Dato' Mas Speaker, inflation. Sarawak recorded a negative 1.6% inflation rate in the first 9 months of 2020. Notwithstanding the negative inflation, the decline in prices was not broad-based. For the whole of 2020, inflation rate is expected to be between negative 1.5% and negative 2%. Labour market. Based on the record from Labour Department of Sarawak, there are 72,251 vacancies reported from January until September 2020. It is noted that there are a total of 1,956 retrenchments up to September 2020, which were mostly found in the hotels and restaurant, wholesale and retail, and construction sectors. We foresee that there will be a rise in unemployment rate to between 5 and 5.5%. Dato' Mas Speaker, State 12 Malaysia Plan. Now let me touch briefly on the preparation of State 12 Malaysia Plan, which will cover the period 2021 to 2025. Given the COVID-19 pandemic, we would certainly not be able to operate on business as usual mode anymore. Neither could we be complacent and rest on our laurels. Adjusting and adapting ourselves to the new normal is the only way forward. For this reason, I have formed the Sarawak Economic Action Council, or SEAC, to look into the post-COVID-19 exit economic strategy 2030, which would encompass the forthcoming 12 Malaysia Plan. We have formulated the state development strategies under the 12 Malaysia Plan, of which 7 core economic sectors and 6 key enablers have been identified to drive Sarawak towards a high-income economy by 2030. The 7 key economic sectors are: 1. Commercial agriculture and commodities, focusing on smart or precision farming. 2. Manufacturing with Industrial Revolution IR 4.0. 3. Forestry, with a focus on reforestation, industrial forests, and sustainable logging. 4. Tourism, with continuous effort to enhance connectivity for both leisure and business visitors. 5. Mining exploration towards a greater downstream value chain. 6. Renewable energy towards the development of hydrogen biomass and solar power. And 7. Services sector. Whereas the 6 enablers are: 1. Education and skills enhancement. 2. Digital transformation. 3. Infrastructure development. 4. Transport system networks. 5. Utilities provision. And 6. Innovation and research and development. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, impact of COVID-19 pandemic to state economy and state immediate mitigation measures. The COVID-19 pandemic has severe and the life impact of COVID-19 pandemic to state economy and state immediate mitigation measures. Particularly the vulnerable groups, proactive action and whole of government approach are required to not only save lives but also the health of our economy. As a caring government, we have implemented Sarawak Ku Sayang Special Aid Packages (BKSS) under BKSS 1.0, BKSS 2.0, BKSS 3.0, and BKSS 4.0, with a total allocation of 1.741 billion ringgit to cushion the mitigate the impact brought about by the pandemic. The various measures implemented have provided needful assistances, covering people of various backgrounds, from individuals to businesses, which among others include the following: 1. Cash incentive for B40 under Bantuan Sara Hidup of RM250 per month for 6 months from April 2020 to September 2020, amounting to RM645 million. 2. Cash incentive to frontliners for 6 months, amounting to RM20.4 million as follows: RM300 per month for doctors and nurses, RM200 per month for personnel in Immigration Department, Royal Malaysian Custom Department, local authorities, Angkatan Pertahanan Awam, Jabatan Bomba dan Penyelamat, Polis Diraja Malaysia and Rela. 3. one-off financial assistance amounting to 237.4 million ringgit for the following groups. 500 ringgit for 347,806 single aged 21 years old earning income 2,000 ringgit and below. 1,500 ringgit to about 30,000 head of household ketua isi rumah. 500 ringgit to 199 owner and operator of penambang registered with Sarawak Rivers Board. 600 ringgit to 959 licensed van operators. 600 ringgit to 1,976 taxi drivers. 600 ringgit to 739 school bus and van. 1,500 ringgit special assistance to 145 licensed tourists and 113 park guides, and 1,500 ringgit to 500 media frontliners. As at 31st August 2020, a sum of 714.50 million cash incentive has been disbursed to these recipients. Dato' Mas Speaker, the state has also provided assistance to the business community to support hawkers, petty traders, micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, which include the following. 1. 2,250 special grant to more than 65,000 hawkers and petty traders through Sarawak Pay and cash vouchers involving a total sum of 147.25 million ringgit. 2. Interest-free soft loan for SMEs to more than 40,000 SMEs with an allocation of 80.7 million ringgit. 3. Provision of additional 20 million ringgit funds from existing 30 million approved for microcredit scheme for SMEs to expand and sustain their businesses. 4. Deferment of loan repayment for borrowers of scheme pinjaman industri kecil dan sederhana SPIK covering a period of 6 months effective from March 2020 worth 1.3 million ringgit. 5. Abolishment of 2% interest rate to 0% for 3.5 years under microcredit scheme involving an allocation of 3 million ringgit. 4. Waiver of rentals to SMEs in retail sector operating on premises owned by the state statutory bodies and GLCs involving a sum of 1 million ringgit. And 7. 50% discount for rental of market and stall covering a period of 6 months benefiting more than 10,000 hawkers involving a sum of 2.08 million ringgit. And 8. Waiver of permits and licenses fees to traders, hawkers and petty traders in the various local authorities involving a sum of 8.24 million ringgit. Apart from the cash incentive, the state government has also introduced additional measures which include the following. 1. 50% rental discount on renting of Housing Development Corporation housing unit for a period of 6 months to more than 3,200 tenants. 2. 6 months electricity and water bill discount worth 157.43 million ringgit. 3. 25% discount an annual assessment rate above 400 ringgit threshold to residential, commercial, industrial, and special purpose holdings for 2020, involving a sum of 74.58 million ringgit. 4. 30% discount for land rents to all land users for year 2020, benefiting 52,403 commercials, industrial, residential, large-scale plantation, and other public facilities involving a sum of 11.84 million ringgit. And 5. One-off deferment of land premium payment for year 2020, benefiting 1,721 stakeholders across Sarawak, which include agriculture, residential, commercial, and industrial unit, as well as private and public institutions, involving a sum of 166.3 million ringgit. In addition to that, other assistance provided by the state government are as follows. 1. Distribution of free face masks throughout Sarawak, costing 3.2 million ringgit. 2. One-off assistance fund to hospital throughout Sarawak, that is hospital needs and PPE, amounting to 10 million ringgit. And 3. Food packages for frontliners, amounting to 1 million ringgit. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, in view of the current surge in the COVID-19 cases in the country, my administration have decided to extend 7 measures under BKS 4.0 involving a sum of 104.84 million. These measures are: 1. Electricity bill discount. Domestic, commercial, and industrial consumers will continue to be given discount of 5% to 25% on their monthly electricity bill for October until December 2020. The discount will benefit 686,847 users throughout Sarawak. This special one-off discount of electricity bill will involve a sum of 83.4 million ringgit. 2. Water bill discount. Domestic, commercial, and industrial consumers will continue to be given discount of 10% to 25% on their monthly water bill for October until December 2020. This special one-off discount will benefit 568,247 consumers throughout the state, which involve a sum of 12.63 million ringgit. 3. 50% discount on HDC rental. A discount of 50% for rental of Housing Development Corporation houses will also be extended, covering a period of 3 months from October to December 2020. This assistance is expected to benefit more than 3,200 tenants, involving a sum of 1.3 million ringgit. 4. 50% discount for rental and off-market and store. A discount of 50% for rental of market and store will also be extended for a period of 3 months up to December 2020. This assistance is expected to benefit more than 10,000 hawkers under the various local council. A sum of 0.8 million is allocated for this purpose. 5. Waiver of permit and licensing fees. We will continue to provide waiver of permits and licenses fees to traders, hawkers, night market traders, and tamu operation to ease their financing burden. And this initiative is amounting to 4.12 million ringgit. 6. Waiver of rental to SMEs in retail sector operating on premises owned by state GRCs and statutory bodies. The waiver of rental to SMEs in the retail sectors which are operating on premises owned by the government-linked companies such as Sarawak Economic Development Corporation, SEDC, Land Custody Development Authority, LCDA, and Bintulu Development Authority, BDA, will also be extended for a period of 3 months until December 2020, involving a sum of 1 million ringgit. 7. Assistant to e-hailing driver and instructor, a one-off cash assistance of 500 ringgit covering a period of 3 months until December 2020 will be given to 3,186 drivers and instructors involving a total sum of 1.59 million ringgit. Dato' Amar Speaker, financial performance of the state in 2020. Now I would like to update this August House on the state financial performance in 2020. Taking into account the actual revenue collection as of taking into account the actual revenue collection as of 31st October 2020, the state is anticipated to collect a sum of 10.703 billion ringgit this year, including receipt of outstanding state sales tax, SST, on crude oil, liquefied natural gas, and other petroleum products amounting to 2.957 billion from Petronas. Our efforts in expanding the state revenue base via imposition of the SST has proven to be a strategic move by the state government in achieving the fiscal flexibility is much needed to strategize and manage its economic development agenda and financial affairs. This revenue source would also greatly assist to ease the state in facing current economic downturn and in combating impacts of COVID-19 pandemic. Expenditure 2020, ordinary expenditure. Dato' Amar Speaker, the 2020 ordinary expenditure has been revised upwards from 9.694 to 10. From 9.694. Dato' Amar Speaker, the 2020 ordinary expenditure, this is mainly meant for state disaster relief fund to cater for the special assistance to address the impact of COVID-19 pandemic under Sarawak Kusayang special aid packages. As at 31st October 2020, an amount of 8.948 billion of ordinary expenditure, or 86%, had been expended. Out of the total amount of ordinary expenditure expended during the period, 3 billion ringgit expenditure, 4.8 billion ringgit was meant for development expenditure, where the balance of 570 million ringgit was for state disaster relief fund. Development expenditure. The development expenditure for 2020 has also been revised upwards from 6.597 billion ringgit to 7.386 billion ringgit, an increase of 789 million ringgit, or about 12%. The revised development expenditure estimate has been approved by Dewan Undangan Negeri in its sitting in May 2020. Out of this amount, 3.834 billion ringgit, or 52%, has been expanded for the period ended 31st October 2020. The performance is affected by the slowdown in the activities due to MCO and COVID-19 mitigation measures. Nonetheless, the expenditure is expected to increase further as development momentum on the ground continues to pick up towards the end of the year. Dato' Amar Speaker, GPS government achievement over the last 3.5 years, the state government has been rigorously and rapidly moving to deliver the promises made to the rakyat. Since taking office and continue the good work of my predecessor, the late Yang Amat Berbahagia Pen Sri Tan Sri Haji Adnan bin Haji Satem, my administration has enacted, introduced, and implemented over 100 initiatives to fulfill these promises. Promises made, promises kept. Janji mestilah ditepati. Notwithstanding the facts that there are obstacles along the way caused by the outbreak of COVID-19 and subsequent shortage of labor on the ground, we will persevere and remain focused to secure a brighter future for Sarawak. Since these various people-oriented initiatives and achievements are too numerous for me to list down, suffice for me to highlight some of the key ones as follows. 1. Fighting for and safeguarding Sarawak rights, interests, and status under MA 63. 2. Revenue re-engineering and diversifying Sarawak revenue base through imposition of sales tax. 3. Implementing the Sarawak Digital Economy Roadmap. 4. Establishing Sarawak Multimedia Authority, Sarawak Digital Economic Corporation, and SENTEC to provide digital economy transformation, talent, and startup development. 5. Expanding electrification and water supply, especially to rural areas. 6. Protecting people's right over ownership through recognition of native territorial domain. 7. Establishing the Sarawak TV to introduce and promote Sarawak nationwide. 8. Financial aid for government-aided school, including Chinese medium and mission school. 9. Modernizing public transport. And 10. Setting up of Sarawak Coastal Guard to protect our shoreline. Dato' Mas Speaker, this is what the government for the people does. Protect what matters most, fulfill the people's aspiration, and plan ahead for the future. Dato' Mas Speaker, strategic approach toward recovery. Given the ongoing global recession, with COVID-19 pandemic still very much ravaging worldwide, it makes the task of managing our economy even more daunting and onerous. This drives us to relook at our approach and review our strategic direction. In doing so, the focus shall be based on the following 5 key objectives. First, we must strengthen our firewalls against this risk by ensuring our socio-economic stability and prudent fiscal management are at all times achieved and sustained. Second, we continue to support and rely on our domestic demand and local markets to cushion the slowdown in the economy, and this is crucial given the disruption in the global supply chain. Third, we must be agile and resourceful to continue formulating and designing resilient recovery policies and initiatives to build back better the economy for rakyat well-being and inclusiveness. Fourth, we must exploit and optimize the use of digital technologies and create innovation ecosystem to drive our transformation effort both in public and private sectors. And fifth, we need to give special emphasis on the development of green growth and green technologies towards sustainable environmental management and resources conservation. Dato' Amasika, State Budget Proposal for 2021. I would now like to table the 2021 State Budget Proposal with the theme, Reinvigorating the Economy Towards a Resilient, Caring, and Inclusive Society. Year 2021 will mark the first year of the 12th Malaysia Plan, 2021 to 2025 implementation period. To achieve the state aspiration towards a high-income economy by 2030, the State Development Strategic Trusts and directions are being formulated to take into account the post-COVID-19 exit economic strategy 2030 that will encompass the forthcoming 12th Malaysia Plan. The priority of my administration is to provide additional resources and assistance, including for the vulnerable section of our society, speed up development in both urban and rural areas, as well as enhance provision of infrastructure and utilities. Therefore, the 2021 state budget is framed across 8 strategic thrusts aimed at steering and reinvigorating the economy towards recovery and sustainable growth. This approach will enable us to build a resilient society, strengthen social inclusivity, and enhance environmental sustainability. The 8 strategic thrusts anchoring the 2021 state budget are: 1. Steering economic recovery. 2. Securing the people's well-being. 3. Ensuring food security and transformation of agricultural production. 4. Strengthening social security. 5. Advancing digital economy. 6. Human capital development. 7. Promoting environmental sustainability. And 8. Enhancing government service delivery. In taking this up, the 2021 state budget will continue to be expansionary budget aimed to stimulate the state economic growth that was severely impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, while ensuring balanced socio-economic development between urban and rural areas. The focus of the budget will be: 1. Development bias budget. 2. Rural bias budget. 3. Paving way for economic recovery. And 4. Improving sustainable living. It is the philosophy of the GPS government that in our continuous effort to develop the state, no one will be left behind. Every Sarawakian, no matter where they are, should be able to reap and enjoy the fruits of development. And it is the responsibility of my administration to create an enabling environment for our people to do so. We fully commit ourselves to take care of Sarawak and protect Sarawak from unscrupulous elements. Jaga Sarawak into Sarawak. Dato' Mas Speaker, Revenue Estimate 2021. The state revenue for the year 2021 is projected at 10.012 billion ringgit, comprising the following. 1. Tax revenue totaling 4.742 billion ringgit, or 47% of the total expected revenue in 2021, consisting of the following. A. 3.687 billion ringgit from state sales tax, of which 3.034 billion from crude oil, liquefied natural gas, and other petroleum products, 505 million ringgit from crude palm oil and crude palm oil kernel oil, 80 million ringgit from lottery, 58 million ringgit from aluminium products, while the remaining 10 million ringgit from tire. B. 600 million ringgit from raw water royalty. C. 183 million ringgit expected from forestry royalty, and 144 million from timber premium. And D. 128 million ringgit from mining royalties, land rents, and others. 2. The non-tax revenue, that is the sales tax, now the non-tax revenue, is estimated at 4.994 billion ringgit, or about 50%, mainly derived from the following major sources. 1. A. 1.883 billion ringgit from 5% cash compensation in lieu of oil and gas rights or royalty on oil and gas. B. 1.8 billion ringgit from dividend income. C. 822 million ringgit from interest income. D. 250 million ringgit from land premium. E. 120 million from cash compensation in lieu of import and excise duties on petroleum products. And F. 119 million from others, including licenses, service fees, permits, and rentals. 3. The non-revenue receipt, which is expected to be 16 million ringgit, mainly from forest liquidated damages, disposal of asset and forest compounds, and 4. Federal grants and reimbursement is expected to be at 260 million ringgit. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, now the ordinary expenditure for 2021. Under the ordinary expenditure, a sum of 9.832 billion ringgit is proposed for 2021. Out of the 32 billion operating expenditure, while a sum of 6 billion ringgit is proposed to be appropriated to development fund account to finance the implementation of various development programs and projects. The proposed operating expenditure of 3.832 billion ringgit in 2021 consists of the following. 1. 874 million ringgit, or 23% for personnel emoluments. 2. 1.269 billion ringgit, or 33% for supplies and services. 3. 1.295 billion, or 34% for grants and fixed payment, which include operating grant to statutory bodies and local authorities, servicing of public debts, and payments of gratuities, pensions, scholarship, including financial and welfare assistance under BKSS, for 73 million ringgit for the procurement of assets, and 331 million ringgit for other operating expenses. Development expenditure 2021. A sum of 6.304 billion ringgit is proposed under the development expenditure estimate for 2021 to finance various programs and projects. This estimate has taken into consideration, among others, one, commitment to complete the implementation of the ongoing projects from the 11th National Plan, capacity to implement projects during the year, and three, implementation of catalytic, high impact, and people-centric projects. Budget surplus 2021. I am pleased to inform this August House that with the estimated revenue of 10.012 billion ringgit and the total proposed ordinary expenditure of 9.832 billion ringgit, the proposed 2021 budget is expected to generate a surplus of 180 million ringgit. State Alternative Funding Initiative. As the state aspires to attain high-income economy by 2030, substantial amount of funding is required to spur the growth of the state economy. Apart from diversifying our revenue resources through revenue re-engineering, we will continue to leverage on state alternative funding initiative to complement the state development budget agenda. This is necessary to fund major infrastructure projects such as roads and bridges, provision of water and electricity supply, telecommunication and digital economy projects. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, strategic thrust and initiative under 2021 budget. Various immediate and multi-pronged measures have been introduced, while more robust medium and long-term measures will be implemented to address the economic and social challenges brought about by the pandemic, paving way for economic recovery in 2021 and beyond. The strategic thrust one is number one strategic thrust, steering economic recovery. Development and rural bias budget. The 2021 state budget will continue to be a development bias budget, which focuses on people-centric projects aimed at accelerating the economic activities, of which 6.304 billion ringgit or 62% of the state budget will be allocated for development expenditure. The state will continue to hasten the development in rural areas in order to bridge the development gap between the urban and rural areas. For this purpose, a sum of 4.251 billion ringgit or 67% of the total development expenditure will be set aside for the implementation of programs and projects in the rural areas, while the remaining 2.053 billion or 33% is for urban areas. I shall now highlight specific initiative, project and programs which would have a transformative impact on our economy and the lives and welfare of our people. Among the projects, including those funded under State Alternative Funding Initiative, are as follows. 1. 1.152 billion ringgit for coastal road network. 2. 1.687 billion ringgit for various projects under RECODA. 3. 494 million ringgit for second trunk road. 4. 792 million ringgit for project under Integrated Regional Samarahan Development Agency, IRSA. 5. 430 million ringgit for construction. 100 million ringgit for implementation of Project Rakyat. 7. 400 million ringgit for Google Transformation Project RTP. And 8. 235 million ringgit for minor Google projects MRP. The implementation of all these projects would enable the Rakyat to enjoy better public amenities and infrastructures that would ultimately help to improve their standard of living. Furthermore, this project creates multiplier effects to the local economy, generating thousands of job opportunities for the local folks and boosting the construction and services sector. Strategic initiative number 2, improving connectivity and accessibility. Connectivity and accessibility are two critical elements to spur economic growth and development. Improving connectivity and accessibility means more roads, bridges, water, and air transport would need to be put in place to create economic vibrancy in the surrounding areas, improving livability and mobility of local communities, as well as creating business and employment opportunities. A total sum of 5.939 billion ringgit will be allocated next year, both via state budget and alternative funding initiative to implement various projects under the transport subsector, such as roads and bridges, ports, airport, and other modes of transport. 1. Major roads and bridges projects. Road infrastructure development, including bridges, has always been given a priority by the state government as we strive to connect all areas in Sarawak. Under the 2021 state budget, a total sum of 1.273 billion ringgit will be provided for the implementation of various road and bridges projects such as 1. Upgrading of 5 roundabouts along Kuching-Samarahan Expressway. 2. Proposed construction of road from Kampung Bako to Kampung Buntal, Kuching. 3. Proposed Jalan Nanga Ibau, Uli Sungai Ibau, Kapit. 4. Proposed Jalan Sungai Bidut, Kampung Tutus, Kampung Sebedil, Kampung Bungan Kecil, Sibu. 5. Proposed road to Rumah Panjang Nicholas Anak Sandom, Sungai Siguk, Pandan, Sebauh, Bintulu. 6. Proposed Marudi Bridge over Batang Bara, Miri. 7. Proposed Sungai Limbang Bridge, Sungai Bunut Namotu Bridge and connecting roads Limbang. 8. Construction of Rantau Panjang, Rasau Road, Batang Igan, Phase 1, Mukah. 9. Proposed Nangga Kesit, Ulu Lamana, Engkari Road, Lubuk Antu, Sri Aman. And 10. Jalan Tanjung Manis, Sibu Sebena and Ilas Serike. On top of this, the state government is vigorously implementing a number of high-impact projects such as Coastal Road Network and Second Trunk Road projects. 2. Port development. As the landscape of the shipping industry is ever-changing, the safety of the access channel to our state port is essential in meeting our future logistic demand. In this regard, the installation of aids to navigation or ATONs for the Batang Rajang access channel to Tanjung Manis Port will be provided with an allocation of 25 million ringgit for continuation and completion of the project in 2021. ATONs are basic infrastructure that will enhance the navigational safety and security of our Sarawak ports. 3. Seamless transportation. Transport infrastructure acts as a key enabler to ensure seamless mobility and connectivity to all growth areas in the state. Thus, the State Integrated Transportation Master Plan up to 2050 will be formulated to chart the policy direction, plan, strategies, and initiatives for the sector. One of the major initiatives is the development of Kuching Urban Transport System, or KUTS, for autonomous rapid transit ART to address traffic congestion in Kuching Samarahan areas, at the same time promote efficient and sustainable transport system. For this purpose, a sum of 384 million ringgit will be allocated next year for its implementation. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, Strategic Initiative number 3, Intensifying State Industrialization Program. The state will continue to place greater emphasis on securing more quality investment, both foreign and domestic, as well as enhancing trade by penetrating global market to boost up economic growth. Effort to diversify our industry sector will be intensified to deepening and strengthening the value chain in oil and gas, energy intensive, high-tech, food, and shipbuilding, alongside the traditional timber-based, oil palm-based, and other manufacturing activities. Under the 2021 budget, a sum of 140.3 million ringgit will be provided to implement the following initiative. 1. Industrial estate. The state government will continue to develop industrial parks and business premises to attract both foreign direct investment FDI and domestic direct investment DDI. In this regard, a sum of 88.3 million will be provided to implement, among others, the following projects. 1. Expansion of the Mak Laut Industrial Park. 2. Samalaju SME Cluster. And 3. Industrial Estate in Sibu, Sematan, Betung, Seri Aman, Bau, Marudi, and Ratau Panjang, Sibu. 2. Entrepreneurship Development Program. The state government fully recognizes the difficulties and challenges faced by our entrepreneurs, especially those from the small, medium, and micro enterprises. In tandem with this, the state government has implemented various initiatives which include the following. 1. Innovation hubs. Currently, there are 7 operating innovation hubs. They provide mentorship, support, guidance, and innovation-focused entrepreneurial program to Sarawakian startups and SMEs across the state. These facilities have benefited more than 50,000 entrepreneurs and innovators from students to adults. This initiative would require a sum of 18 million ringgit. B. SME and other entrepreneurship program. The state government will continue to encourage more people to venture into business activities. And this will not only help to uplift their socio-economic well-being, but also spur the growth of the local economy. With an allocation of 11 million ringgit in 2020, various entrepreneurship programs are being implemented that benefit more than 12,500 entrepreneurs. The state government will also implement SME digitalization packages to assist the local enterprises to become more competitive while operating in the new normal and today's challenging business environment. A total of 10 million ringgit is proposed next year for the implementation of the program that will benefit more than 1,000 entrepreneurs. Anjung Usahawan, C. From the Entrepreneurship Skill Program, the state also continues to construct new anjung usahawan in other parts of Sarawak, including Teluk Melano in Lundu, Gedong, Limbang, and Lawas. Anjung Usahawan is a one-stop center that serves as a platform for budding entrepreneurs to develop and thrive. A sum of 19.2 million ringgit will be provided next year for this purpose. D. Supporting the recovery of businesses and SMEs. In facilitating the recovery of businesses and SMEs that have been severely hit by the pandemic, the following measures will be continued to be implemented. 1. Sarawak Micro Credit Scheme that will provide financial assistance to entrepreneurs for their business expansion and diversification. This initiative has been implemented beginning this year with an allocation of 37 million ringgit. Under the 2021 budget, another 50 million ringgit will be provided for this purpose. 2. Special Relief Fund Interest Subsidy Scheme, where the SMEs will enjoy interest-free loans over 3.5 years. This year, a sum of 17.3 million is expected to be disbursed to the participating banks, while under the 2021 budget, 19 million ringgit more will be allocated. This scheme is expected to benefit more than 40,000 SMEs throughout Sarawak. 3. Deferment of loan repayment for scheme pinjaman industri kecil dan sederhana SPIK has also been implemented to ease the SME cash flow and lessen their financial burden. This measure will benefit 144 borrowers of SPIK. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, Strategic Initiative number 4, Accelerating Score Development. With the formation of the 3 development agencies under Recorda, namely Upper Rajang Development Agency (ORDA), Highland Development Agency (HDA), and Northern Region Development Agency (NRDA), the state government has approved the implementation of over 250 infrastructure and socio-economic projects, including roads and bridges, water and electricity supply, improvement and repair of dilapidated schools. To date, 86 projects amounting to 1.7 billion ringgit have been awarded, while the remaining project worth 2.8 billion ringgit will soon be awarded. Hence, to meet the contractual obligation next year, a sum of 1.687 billion ringgit will be required. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, Strategic Initiative number 5, Boosting Tourism Sector. Over the last 10 years, the state tourism industry has grown significantly, both in terms of visitor arrivals as well as its contribution to the growth of the state economy. However, the COVID-19 pandemic, coupled with the movement restriction, has caused a sharp decline in travel and leisure activities. The state will continue to provide allocation to develop new tourism attractions and upgrade the existing one, which are as follows. 1. Sarawak Culture Museum in Kuching. 2. Santubong Ecological Park and Wallace Center. 3. Cascading Waterfall at Fort Margrethe. 4. Upgrading of Wind Caves and Ferry Caves. 5. Upgrading of forts, including Fort Emma, Fort Lily, Fort Brooke, Fort Sevilla. 6. Transformation of Brooke Dockyard into Maritime Museum. 7. Performing Arts Center at our old Dune building. And 8. Sadong Jaya Mangrove Tourism. Under the 2021 budget, a total sum of 252 million ringgit will be allocated to Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture to to carry out various tourism programs, including marketing and promotion, bidding for business event, festival, and event, as well as tourism infrastructure development. Dato Amas Speaker, strategic thrust to securing the people's welfare. Strategic initiative number 1, creating a livable environment, providing affordable housing. The state government is committed to provide shelter and improve the well-being of the rakyat through provision of quality and affordable houses with well-developed amenities. A sum of 93 million ringgit will be provided under this budget for the implementation of various affordable housing projects, which include Rumah Mampu Milik at Darul Hana, Kuching, and Rumah Spektra Permata in Kuching, Sibu, Mukah, Petong, and Miri. 2. Kampung Extension and Resettlement Scheme. Kampung Extension and Resettlement Scheme were introduced to relieve congestion in the existing settlement or traditional kampung by providing well-balanced residential lot with infrastructure to households from low-income groups. For 2021, a sum of 36.5 million allocated under this budget to continue with this noble initiative as part of the GBS government continuous effort in poverty alleviation and uplifting livelihood of the rakyat. 3. End financing for affordable housing and long houses. To address the end financing problem faced by house buyers from low income B40 and middle income M40 group, Mutiara Mortgage and Credit Srian Bahad has been established to provide soft loans to eligible house buyers. Currently, the loan is confined to public housing projects implemented by HDC. To date, Mutiara Mortgage has disbursed a total of 37 million ringgit to 865 successful applicants. For 2021, a sum of 50 million will be made available by Mutiara Mortgage for this purpose. Apart from that, the state government is also implementing long house loan scheme, where an interest-free loan is given to the long house dwellers for repair of their units or building new long houses. In 2020, the state government has allocated a sum of 50 million, which benefit 1,667 long house dwellers. This scheme will be continued next year with an additional allocation of 50 million ringgit. 4. Program Pembaikan Rumah Rakyat Miskin. This program was introduced in 2018, aimed at assisting the B40 group to repair their dilapidated houses to enable them to have a decent home. For 2021, a sum of 80 million ringgit will be allocated for continuation of this program. Sarawak Rental Assistance Scheme. Dato' Amas Speaker, this is a new one, a new scheme to help the poor. To assist working low-income group in reducing cost of living and mitigate urban poverty, especially in urban areas, my administration will introduce a new scheme called Sarawak Rental Assistance Scheme next year. Under this scheme, eligible applicants from the low-income group will receive a rental assistance of 200 ringgit per month for up to a maximum of 36 months or 3 years. A sum of 48 million ringgit will be set aside under this budget, and that will benefit about 20,000 eligible households. Those are renting, especially in highly populated areas like Kuching, Bintulu, and even Sibu and Miri. They are renting houses because they are working there in the various companies, and they need assistance to pay off their rental scheme. And we are providing 200 ringgit for them. 6. Urban Renewal Program. In our effort to address urban-related issues and overcome overcrowded settlement, the state government has been implementing urban renewal program. For 2021, an allocation of 390 million ringgit will be provided for the implementation of urban renewal projects, which include 1. Darul Hana Redevelopment Project, 2. Sungai Berdaun Redevelopment Project, 3. Kampung Tabuan Melayu Redevelopment Project, 4. Infrastructure work at Komunyang, Sibu, 5. Infrastructure work at Kampung Jepak, Bintulu, 6. Infrastructure work at Kampung Baru, Samarahan, 7. Infrastructure work at Kampung Segeduk Maung, Kuching, and 8. Infrastructure work at Kampung Sepauh, Betong. Kuching City Local Plan 2030 Study. The government is undertaking the Kuching City Local Plan 2030 Study that will provide an overall physical land use development direction through zoning plan and use for a holistic for the city. A sum of 2 million ringgit will be allocated next year for this purpose. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, Strategic Initiative number 2, expanding coverage of treated water supply and electricity supply. Water supply program. Expanding the coverage of treated water supply has always been the top priority of the state government to accelerate development in the rural areas. Efforts to provide reliable, efficient, resilient, safe, and sustainable water supply will be intensified with the implementation of various projects such as 1. Pipeline for Darul Hana project, 2. Upgrading of Berawan water treatment plant, 3. High-level tank at Balai Ruai, Saratok, 4. Long Lama water supply phase 3, and 5. Suai water treatment plant, raw water intake. For this purpose, a sum of 85.27 million ringgit will be provided under this budget. Another initiative is the implementation of Sarawak Water Supply Grid Program for stressed area, of which a sum of 1.710 billion ringgit will be provided under State Alternative Funding Initiative 2021. 2. Electricity Supply Program. The state government goal is to light up all corners of Sarawak, with various electricity programs are being implemented to resolve immediate issues of service delivery and coverage. In this connection, a sum of 1.398 billion ringgit will be provided next year for Rural Electrification Scheme, RES, under the State Alternative Funding Initiative. Assistance is also given to the rural community for connection of electricity to their houses via Additional Late Applicant Fund, ALAF, and Assisted Wiring Scheme, AWS. As I have announced last year in my budget speech, the urban household will also be assisted for connection of electricity to their houses via Connection Charges Government Financial Assistance, CCGFA. This program will be continued next year with an allocation of 2.3 million ringgit under this budget. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, Strategic Trust 3, ensuring food security and transformation of agriculture production. In Strategic Initiative number 1, Agriculture Transformation, we aspire to develop the state agriculture sector into a technology-driven and competitive sector, ensuring food security and safety, and creating wealth for our farming community. In this regard, a sum of 1.123 billion ringgit will be allocated next year to implement various programs such as 1. Establishment of Agro Park at Sungai Baji, Sarike, and Sadong Jaya, Samarahan. 2. Establishment of agro-based industry incubator at southern and northern regions. 3. Establishment of pig farming area in Semunjan, Selangau, and Samarakan. 4. Agro-food development program. 5. Commodity crop development program. And 6. Drainage and irrigation projects. Strategic Initiative 2, Food Security. Efforts will be intensified to increase the self-sufficient level of rice from 51% to 70% by 2030 through upgrading and rehabilitating of drainage and irrigation. This is necessary to enable farm mechanization, precision farming practices, and to plant paddy for 2 seasons a year that will boost paddy production and productivity. To increase the supply of beef, buffalo, and goat meat to meet the growing domestic demand, a sum of 13.5 million ringgit will be allocated in 2021 state budget to procure cattle, buffalo, and goat breeder stock to strengthen the ruminant integration with oil palm plantation program toward achieving a target of producing 150,000 heads of cattle by 2025. Strategic Initiative 3, Growing Rural Economy. 1. Agriculture Facilitation Fund, AFF. The program was introduced this year to finance various income diversification initiatives, provision of equipment and infrastructure support, and other agriculture-related activities. It is providing facilitation fund as an incentive to rural entrepreneurs, small traders, and farmers for their involvement in agriculture projects. To date, a sum of 265 million ringgit has been allocated for the program, and its implementation will be continued next year. Rural Growth Center. To create economic vibrancy in the rural areas, infrastructure development will continue to be carried out. In this connection, a total sum of 41.3 million will be allocated under this budget for the completion of infrastructure project at Rural Growth Center in Opar, Bladin, and Semok. Special assistance scheme to fishermen and farmers. As a government that gives top priority to the welfare of the rakyat and empathize with their plight, we have made available a sum of 29 million in 2021 to assist fishermen in cushioning the impact of inactivity during the landas season. We have also decided to extend the assistance to farmers in Sarawak who are involved in the cultivation of oil palm and paper commodity on a small-scale farm. We understand that their livelihood has been adversely affected in recent months due to commodities price fluctuation, compounded by the rising cost of fertilizers and agrochemical, as these commodities are their major source of income. Therefore, a sum of 60 million ringgit will be provided in this budget that is expected to benefit 75,000 farmers. Sarawak Reef Ball Project. Sarawak Reef Ball Project is another initiative undertaken by the state government to increase the income of the local fishermen. This project involved deployment of 16,800 units reef ball along approximately 1,000 kilometer coastal waters of Sarawak, starting from Tanjung Datuk from Samatan District to Lawas. By end of 2020, a total of 9,300 units reef ball will be deployed, while the remaining 7,500 units will be deployed next year, involving a sum of 23 million ringgit. Dato' Amar Speaker, Strategic Trust for Strengthening Social Security. In the effort to ensure sustainable social protection for the rakyat, especially the vulnerable groups, the state government will continue to strengthen its social protection program through the implementation of the various initiatives. For 2021, The state government shall implement new initiative as follows. 1. SURI Voluntary Contribution Intensive Scheme, or ISURI. This initiative is to provide a financial safety net to housewives, single mothers, and single women at the age below 60 and registered in the e-Kasih system. ISURI members will be entitled for an annual grant from the federal government amounting to 480 ringgit. Apart from this, they will also entitled to receive annual dividend, disabilities, assistance, and death benefit. Under the scheme, the state government will assist the eligible recipient to contribute 60 ringgit annually to each EPF ISURI account. For this purpose, a sum of 4.2 million will be set aside in 2021 state budget that will benefit 70,000 housewives. Low-income household empowering program, e-Life. This program will be introduced in 2021 to empower the poor to increase their income through small business ventures by providing starter kits and materials as well as entrepreneurship skill. The target group includes the poor and welfare recipient or family members to enable them to be financially independent. In 2021, an allocation of 10 million ringgit will be provided to implement this program. State health insurance for e-Kasih recipient. This initiative will provide health insurance coverage for Sarawakians aged 18 years and below from e-Kasih household members who are not covered under My Salam scheme of the federal government. This initiative will provide equal opportunities to all low-income households to enjoy quality healthcare service without incurring high out-of-pocket healthcare expenses. A sum of 400 ringgit per year for primary healthcare will be given to about 12,500 eligible recipients next year. A sum of 5 million ringgit will be allocated for the scheme under this budget. On top of this, the state government will continue implementing the following ongoing initiatives. Among them are 1. Annual welfare assistance of 57 million ringgit for various welfare aids such as Bantuan AM, Bantuan Orang Kelainan Upaya OKU, and Bantuan Warga Emas. 57 million ringgit for them from the state government. 2. Endowment Fund Sarawak EPS of 26 million that will benefit about 26,000 Sarawakian newborn. We are the only state, Dato' Ahmad Speaker, that give cash incentive to newborn. Keluar saja 1,000. Buat satu lagi, keluar 1,000. Number 3, postnatal care assistance of 16 million ringgit that will benefit about 36,000 mothers. As long as they deliver baby, waktu pantang 3 bulan, we are giving them assistance of 450 ringgit. Irrespective of their political affiliation. We are fair. Number 4, free school bus program of 2.6 million for extension of the services to other major towns such as Cebu, Bintulu, and Miri. We are giving school children free bus for them to go to school. 5, operating grant of 1.71 million for the operation of One-Stop Early Intervention Center, OSEIC, that will provide diagnosis, intervention, and support services to children with special needs, such as autism, Down syndrome, and learning disabilities aged below 7 years old. Hemodialysis assistant of 3.24 million for Sarawakian kidney patients who need treatment for hemodialysis, continuous ambulatory peritoneal dialysis, CAPD, I do know this. I have to ask Dr. Anwar or Dr. Sim, and transplant. 7, Kenyalang Gold Card of 12 million ringgit to assist local senior citizens aged 60 and above. This initiative provides facilities in the form of discount, rebates, and other facilities from various organizations and commercial entities. Besides that, the eligible KGC holders will also entitle for compassionate allowances, bantuan ihsan kematian of 3,000 ringgit. I mean, GPS government is kasih bond, akhir dia mati pun kita kasih 3,000. 8, fire relief assistance, bantuan wang ihsan kebakaran of 55 million ringgit is set aside to fire victims as financial assistance to repair and rebuild burned houses, which is not covered by fire insurance. Data Speaker, Strategy 5, Advancing Digital Economy. The state government is committed to spearhead the digital economy initiative and to optimize the potential of digital technology and digitalization to leapfrog the state towards a high-income economy by 2030. The initiative will continue to be implemented next year with an allocation of 540 million ringgit. Digital connectivity. In accelerating digitalization of the economy, provision of good digital infrastructure is critical to boost the growth in businesses, creating greater economic opportunities, opening up the local economy, as well as strengthening digital connection with the rest of the world. This initiative, among others, are 1, enhancing digital connectivity in the rural areas by providing free internet connection via Sarawak Net Infrastructure, VSAT technology, with a capacity between 20 Mbps to 30 Mbps bandwidth per site, with an allocation of 16.5 million ringgit. And 2, construction of telecommunication towers throughout Sarawak, especially in the remote areas. To date, 300 towers have been constructed and at various stages of implementation, while another 300 towers will kickstart next year. Strategic Initiative 2, embarking on smart technology. The state government will aggressively embark on smart technologies that will allow full exploitation of the digital revolution while minimizing job dislocation. Among the initiatives being planned and implemented are 1, smart agriculture, based on the encouraging success of Taman Kekal Pengeluaran Makanan Rampangi. The state government will replicate the IoT technologies to other agriculture stations, such as Agriculture Research Center, Agriculture Institute, Northern Region Agriculture Research Center Kebuloh, ATC Oya, and ATC Kabung. 2, Sarawak Pay in FinTech. The Sarawak Pay e-wallet has become a mainstream mode of payment in Sarawak with registered users of more than 453,000 in 2020. During the COVID-19 pandemic, financial assistance to about 65,000 hawkers and petty traders was paid through Sarawak Pay. The usage of Sarawak Pay services will be extended to enable users to have more choices that include implementation of smart parking platform, telecommunication reload services, digital banking like microfinancing, B2B payment, and interoperable with affiliated partner e-wallet. Sarawak Integrated Operation Center, SIOC. The state government will also be embarking on the implementation of SIOC, which envisaged as the brain of the smart city that links smart application and system to support decision making. SIOC will enable central agencies to monitor any situation in real time give accurate and timely inputs, getting reports and feedbacks from the public regarding incident, outbreak, disaster, complaint, etc. The project, which has commenced this year, will be implemented in phases. Smart traffic light. The state government is also embarking on smart traffic light, aims to reduce traffic congestion and travel time, increase, increase road safety, and provide data for further transportation improvement. The upgrading of the existing 42 traffic light junction in Kuching has shown reduction of time travel by at least 15%. This program will be continued to equip other major cities in Sarawak with similar system. Dato' Amar Speaker, Human Capital Development Strategic Trust 6. Our education and human capital development strategies must be able to produce talented and agile workforce that are capable of driving the state vision and generate economic prosperity. The key initiative that contributes significantly to the enhancement of quality of education in state, among others, are: 1. Safe and conducive teaching and learning environment. The state government is committed to address the issue of dilapidated school as part of the state education agenda. With the 1 billion allocation, more than 140 schools will be upgraded or rebuilt. In addition, the state government will also provide funding amounting to 83.3 million ringgit for the construction and completion of SK Agama Kuching Nombor 2, SK Ulu Segan Bintulu, SK Maludam Betong, SK Mempati Jepang, SK Pulau Kuching, and SK Penasuk Daro Mukah. Apart from the school construction, the state will also allocate 10 million ringgit under this budget to provide reliable electricity from public grid to 110 schools in the rural areas. Enhancing quality of education as a strategic effort to enhance the scientific and technological capability of our students in future, we have embarked on teaching of mathematics and science subject in English in all government schools in Sarawak. Under this initiative, the state government has allocated a sum of 5.2 million ringgit this year to provide 1,265 primary schools in the state with STEM resources in English. For next year, another 15 million ringgit will be provided for continuation of this program. For furtherance of studies at renowned universities, the state, through Yayasan Sarawak, provides assistance to qualified students to study in the 4 top universities, namely Cambridge University, London School of Economics, Oxford University, and Stanford University. Dato' Amar Speaker, early childhood development. The state government recognizes early education is vital for mental and physical development of our children. In this regard, we will continue with the implementation of early childhood and care institution program with an allocation of 16 million ringgit to provided in 2021. On top of this, a sum of 18 million ringgit will be provided in 2021 for the operation of 86 kindergartens and child care centers under CDDEC Saran Bahad. Sarawak Science Center, the state government has embarked on the establishment of Sarawak Science Center that will further enhance the state human capital development. This center will provide an avenue for public engagement among students, teachers, and the public at large towards creating greater interest in STEM. The preliminary works for the project has started this year, and the construction is expected to commence next year. Sarawak International School. Sarawak First International School will be located at 12 Mile, Jalan Kuching Siran, which will begin construction in 2021. The school will incorporate the Cambridge International General Certificate of Secondary Education, ICGSE, and targeting the students from the B40 and M40 groups. A sum of 20 million ringgit is proposed next year to kickstart the implementation of the project. School voucher for tuition fees. In tandem with the government objective to create greater pool of high performance students, including those from low income group, I am pleased to announce that the state government will provide 10 million ringgit next year in the form of school vouchers to assist in funding the student tuition fees. The assistance is up to a maximum of 150 ringgit per month or 1,800 per year per secondary student. This initiative is expected to benefit about 5,600 secondary students and will be coordinated by Yayasan Sarawak. Enhancing quality of human capital. Human capital enhancement is important as it acts as a main catalyst for the state to continue to develop in line with the notion of Industry 4.0. Numerous skill development programs are being introduced to empower local so that they can contribute more to the growth of the economy and ultimately improve their socio-economic status. The program include 1. Digital talent that focuses on enhancing development of digital talent among our young workforce. This program will provide opportunities to the job seekers, especially those affected by the global pandemic, to upskill, reskill, and retool themselves with digital skill. This will be carried out by Sarawak Digital Corporation SDEC and SEMTEC. 2. Graduate Enhancement Training Sarawak 4.0 program. This is a 12-month on-the-job training internship to graduates to acquire industry-relevant skill and enhance employability. An allocation of 7.6 million ringgit will be provided next year and will benefit about 400 graduates. 3. Greater promotion of technical and vocational education. The state government will intensify effort to develop highly trained technical workforce to meet the demand from the industries such as oil and gas, electrical and mechanical industries, and many more. Under the 11 measure plan, the state has allocated 261 million to enhance as well as establish new branches of Sengtech, namely in Kuching, Lundu, Betong, Dalat, and Lawas. This effort will be continued where a sum of 67 million will be made available next year. Dato' Amar Speaker, promoting environmental sustainability, Strategic Trust 7. The state government will continue its effort in strengthening sustainable forest management practices in the state. Towards this, 13.62 million ringgit will be allocated next year for the implementation of various projects such as follows. 1. Forest landscape restoration program throughout Sarawak. 2. Establishment of Center of Sealant for Planted Forest, R&D. 3. Establishment of Semenggong Rainforest Discovery Center. And 4. Research for intensified management of bio-rich areas, Rimba of Sarawak. Dato' Amar Speaker, enhancing government service delivery, Trust 8. The state government will continue its effort in strengthening sustainable forest management practices in the state. Strategic Trust 8 enhanced government service delivery. The state government has in 2018 implemented Service Sarawak to realize the concept of one government at your service anytime and anywhere. To date, we have operationalized Service Sarawak Center at UTC Kuching, Cebu, and Miri, where more than 700,000 customers had been served. Service Sarawak Center will be expanded in Sri Aman and Syrian Division, expected to be operationalized by the middle of 2021. Enhancement of government ICT, efforts towards providing excellent service delivery will also be intensively pursued through digitalization and system enhancement, of which 7.1 million ringgit will be allocated in 2021 for the continuation of government digitalization project. Capacity building of the state civil service. The state government will continue its effort on leadership development program to enhance talent development in the state civil service to help cultivate shared values and high performance culture among civil servants and harness their skill to deliver excellent services. Thus, a sum of 4.7 million ringgit will be provided in this budget to undertake this initiative. Revenue re-engineering, Datuk Ahmad Speaker. The state government will continue to expand and diversify the state revenue stream through revenue re-engineering. This effort is even more crucial amidst the current economic slowdown, where the bulk of our revenue comes from community-based source. One of the measures under this exercise is to review the rate of rental for renting of state government properties. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the federal government for allocating a sum of 4.5 billion in the 2021 federal budget to the state. Among others, to improve infrastructure, health, and education facilities, and for native customary right land perimeter survey. This was not in the last under PH government. It was not there. This allocation will help us to further accelerate the development in Sarawak. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, I am honored to mention here that the state 2019 financial account has earned the state a clean bill of health for the 18 consecutive years. This is a clear indication of the state continuous sound financial management in exercising financial prudence and discipline at all levels. However, we must not be complacent. We must look ahead and we must plan well. We have the sacred responsibility to spend prudently and wisely for the benefits and welfare of the rakyat. With this in mind, I urge all controlling officers of the various ministries, agencies, statutory bodies, and local authorities to continue adopting and exercising good governance and practices, responsible financial management, and on top of all this, inculcate integrity in our everyday life. The state government would prioritize the implementation of development programs and public investment as to ensure the development agenda is met and the benefits are enjoyed by the rakyat. As such, my administration is always emphasizing on the need to ensure value for money and prioritize spending that will warrant savings and cost optimization through the adoption of value management framework in the planning and implementation of development projects. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, now I would like to conclude. In spite of the criticism made against my administration under GPS by certain irresponsible quarters that Sarawak will be bankrupt in 3 years' time, the GPS government has shown that we have been able to manage our financial resources prudently and even increase our revenue. While I accept criticism as part of democracy, it cannot be based on wild and baseless allegation. And sooner or later, the people will know, and the truth will prevail. Therefore, we will not waver in our efforts and continue to work hard for the people and the state. We will always find ways and means to resolve any challenges in the course of performing our duties. The establishment of the State Development Coordination Committee meeting, SDCCM, of which I personally chair, is one of the steps to address and solve problems involving projects on the ground. Come what may, we will defend this government people and for the love of our state. Only GPS-led government would fully comprehend the need and aspiration of our people. Dato Ahmad Speaker, this is what our struggle is all about. A government which all Sarawakian can rely on in whatever situation, and more so in this COVID-19 trying period. My colleagues and I will continue with the state development agenda and give priority to the well-being of the rakyat. This budget, together with all the rest of the initiative that we have undertaken, is a reflection of our commitment. Madam Speaker, I would like to place on record our immense debt and gratitude to those who have sacrificed and who serve and still serve on the front line. Our healthcare personnel and essential workers, civil servants, volunteers, NGOs, and the media. There has been a lot of hardship and suffering, and we mourn for those who have passed. However, as long as we are united and remain steadfast, we shall overcome this crisis. The battle against COVID-19 will be an arduous task and a long one. Thus, the 2021 budget is a manifestation of our total commitment to steer Sarawak out of this crisis and for us to recover, rebuild, and become stronger. I urge all Sarawakian, whatever their creed, race, and political affiliation, to stay united as one people and work together and ensure we get through this so that we can continue our journey towards building a progressive and prosperous society. Dato' Ahmad Speaker, dengan ini saya memohon mencadangkan agar rang undang-undang ini dibaca bagi kali yang kedua. Terima kasih.
Thomas Speaker, I beg to second.
Usul untuk merujuk resolusi anggaran pembelanjaan pembangunan bagi tahun 2021 kepada Jawatankuasa Pembekalan. Yang Amat Berhormat Ketua Menteri, Menteri Kewangan dan Perancangan Ekonomi, Menteri Pembangunan Bandar dan Sumber Asli dan Ahli Dewan Undangan Negeri N81.
Dato' Ahmad Speaker, I move to move that the following resolution be referred to the Committee of Supply, that this day one resolved to approve the Development Estimate 2021 as contained in the Command Paper number 13 of 2020, laid on the table on 9 November 2020. As presented in Command Paper number 13 of 2020, the total development expenditure for 2021 amounts to 6.304 million ringgit. It means 6,304 million ringgit. Of the total sum of 603.4 million ringgit earmarked for project expenditure, 6.13 million ringgit will be financed by state funds, while the balance of 168 million will be financed by federal government through reimbursable loans and grants. The sum of 6,304 million as proposed has been allocated on the basis of projected expenditure commitment and requirements for approved development activities during the year. The proposed allocation for the major sectors are as follows. A total of 4,132 million ringgit is allocated under the economic sector for the following programs. 1, 2,353 million ringgit is for commerce and industry, such as state corporate investment, state industrialization and heritage collection, tourism promotion and industry development, conservation and protection of heritage properties. 2, 1,432 million ringgit is for transport, of which include roads, bridges, riverine infrastructure and ports, navigational safety, and for the various project rakyat. 321 million ringgit for agriculture development, such as for crop industry development, agriculture infrastructure, veterinary services, and agriculture research. 90 million ringgit is for energy and public utilities, of which focusing on upgrading and expansion of supplying potable water connectivity, especially to the rural areas, including a sum of 23 million ringgit to Kuching Water Board and 8.6 million to Cebu Water Board. 60 million is for digital economy initiative. 37 million is for environment, such as forest management, forestry research and development, urban drainage and flood mitigation. And 34 million is for feasibility study on state development planning and policy formulation. B, a total of 1,879 million ringgit is allocated under social sector for the following programs. 1,248 million is for the village and community development, mainly for the implementation of various rural transformation projects, minor rural projects, residential scheme, kampung redevelopment, and rural growth centers. 293 million is for housing development, especially for program penambahbaikan rumah miskin Sarawak, PPRMS, as well as construction of affordable houses under Housing Development Corporation. 245 million is for local authorities and social welfare services, which also includes urban sewerage and waste management, as well as landfill development. 60 million ringgit is for education and training for Sarawakian students, and 28 million for culture, youth, and sport, including upgrading of various sport facilities throughout the state. C, a total of 293 million is allocated under general administration sector for building of various government offices, school, and residential buildings, as well as implementation of government ICT project. Datuk Mas Speaker, I beg to move.
Datuk Mas Speaker, I beg to second.
Ahli-ahli yang berhormat, the debate on the supply 2021 bill 2020 on 11 November 2020. The sitting is now adjourned and shall resume at 2:30 p.m.
Baik, demikian tadi kita telah ikuti pembentangan belanjawan ataupun Bajet Sarawak 2021 yang telah dibentangkan oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Ketua Menteri Sarawak, Datuk Patinggi Abang Johari Bintun Abang Haji Openg, langsung dari bangunan Dewan Undangan Negeri Sarawak sebentar tadi. Dan mungkin apa yang telah kita jadikan teka-teki sebelum ini akhirnya terjawab, dan apa yang dapat saya saksikan tadi, belanjawan yang telah dibentangkan adalah sesuatu yang memacu kepada pertumbuhan ekonomi dan pada masa yang sama meneruskan usaha untuk membina kapasiti khususnya dalam sektor-sektor yang penting di negeri Sarawak ini. Dan saya tertarik sebenarnya dengan apa yang telah dinyatakan oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Ketua Menteri tadi, iaitu mengenai plan ahead for the Future. Kita merancang untuk pembangunan negeri Sarawak yang tercinta dan ada 8 trust yang telah dibentangkan dan elok rasanya kita terus bersama dengan ahli panel kita kembali bersama dengan Dr. Abdul Jabbar Abdullah dari iaitu pensyarah Jabatan Ekonomi, Fakulti Pengurusan dan Perniagaan, Universiti Teknologi Mara UiTM dan juga Profesor Madya Dr. Dayang Afizah binti Awang Merikan, Timbalan Dekan Penyelidikan dan Pengkomersialan dan pensyarah Fakulti Ekonomi dan Perniagaan UNIMAS. Okey, kita persilakan Dr. Jabbar dulu. Apa yang dapat anda simpulkan daripada 8 trust yang telah diumumkan oleh Ketua Menteri Sarawak tadi, Dr. Jabbar?
Terima kasih DJ Corina. Alhamdulillah pembentangan telah pun kita dengar tadi. Dan apa yang dapat saya, yang menarik bagi saya di sini adalah iaitu bagaimana kerajaan meneruskan komitmen untuk membangunkan kawasan luar bandar. Supaya dengan itu masyarakat di kawasan luar bandar, masyarakat di kampung dan desa tidak ketinggalan dalam arus pembangunan. Kalau kita lihat tadi pembangunan infrastruktur khususnya untuk luar bandar adalah yang tertinggi tadi yang tertinggi. Dan ini dapat meningkatkan lagi dan saya percaya ini dapat meningkatkan lagi pembangunan ekonomi. Antara yang saya paling tertarik tadi adalah tentang coastal road network.
Jalan pesisir.
Jalan pesisir yang mana ia boleh membangunkan kawasan-kawasan di pesisir pantai negeri Sarawak. Cuma yang saya ingin, apa yang paling penting adalah bagaimana masyarakat di kawasan sekitar itu untuk manfaatkan kemudahan ataupun infrastruktur yang telah disediakan oleh kerajaan negeri. Ini itu, bagi saya itu adalah satu yang sangat menarik lah untuk membangunkan khususnya di kawasan pesisir pantai yang mana banyak penduduk-penduduk kampung, penduduk desa di kawasan tersebut boleh mendapat manfaat yang besar.
Iya, saya. Dr. Dayang, saya percaya Dr. Dayang mempunyai skop yang berbeza mungkin dari segi 8 trust ini.
Okey, jika kita telah mendengar pembentangan oleh Yang Amat Berhormat CM kita, yang mana tajuk saya nak bermula dengan tajuk dia dulu ya, reinvigorating the economics towards a resilient, caring and inclusive society. So the perkataan inklusif tu yang kita pertekankan. Jadi kita lihat belanjawan yang telah dibentang tadi memang sangat inklusif. Memang sangat mencakupi segala lapisan masyarakat. Yang pertama saya pertekankan di sini berdasarkan pemerhatian saya tadi, berdasarkan belanjawan adalah modal insan yang dipertekankan dalam bajet ini. Yang mana banyak insentif-insentif untuk meningkatkan peluang pekerjaan, begitu juga untuk latihan dan kemahiran. Okay, belia-belia turut dipertekankan, for example reskilling, retooling dan upskilling yang macam inilah. Yang kedua adalah daripada segi sektor yang menggerakkan ekonomi. Sektor yang menggerakkan ekonomi yang dipertekankan secara khusus adalah seperti sektor pertanian dan sektor tourism, pelancongan. Yang mana sektor pelancongan seperti yang telah diperkatakan memang telah merosot sebanyak 64% ya, seperti yang diperkatakan tadi. Namun ia harus dipulihkan dari masa ke semasa dan juga disediakan belanjawan yang khusus untuk memperbaiki sektor pelancongan di negara kita. Begitu juga dengan sektor pertanian. Sektor pertanian kita telah melihat banyak seperti yang Dr. Jabbar kata tadi, seperti smart farming yang berdasarkan IoT, Internet of Things ya. Itu juga yang dipertekankan. Perkara yang ketiga adalah seperti saya setuju dengan apa yang Dr. Jabbar katakan, iaitu pengfokusan kepada luar bandar yang mana infrastruktur seperti air dan elektrik yang mana kita kerajaan mempunyai visi untuk mencakupi air dan elektrik, bekalan air dan elektrik secara keseluruhan pada tahun 2025. Maksudnya pada tahun 2025 tu insya-Allah semua penduduk mendapat elektrik dan air insya-Allah pada tahun 2025. Dan bajet juga telah dikhususkan untuk infrastruktur dari segi dilapidated school, okay, di kawasan luar bandar, antara lain adalah salah satu program untuk membangun ke luar bandar. Dan yang akhir sekali adalah Urban Renewal Program. Urban Renewal Program ni yang saya lihat adalah tujuan kerajaan mengadakan program ini adalah untuk mengurangkan jurang antara luar bandar dan bandar. Kita lihat banyak penduduk luar bandar yang bermigrasi ke bandar yang mendatangkan permasalahan seperti overcrowding terlalu padat ya. Jadi adanya program-program seperti ini yang melibatkan housing, menyediakan housing untuk overcrowding problem ni. Okey. Jadi antara lain tujuan Urban Renewal Program ini adalah untuk mengurangkan perbezaan antara luar bandar, kemiskinan dan mengurangkan kemiskinan di bandar itself. Bandar itu sendiri memang ada yang miskin lah, kita bukan cakap pasal luar bandar saja. Malahan di bandar itu juga memang terdapat golongan-golongan miskin yang harus kita bantu. Jadi itu antara skop secara keseluruhan yang saya dapat simpulkan.
Ya, maksudnya tidak ada jurang yang terlalu ketara.
Ya, tidak ada jurang
antara
terlalu
penduduk
ketara.
bandar dan juga luar bandar. Mungkin Dr. Jabbar ada tambahan pada lapan teras ini?
Saya melihat bahawa bajet tersebut bertujuan untuk merapatkan lagi jurang antara bandar dan luar bandar supaya penduduk luar bandar tidak ketinggalan. Seperti mana yang saya kata tadi, peluang itu, peluang. Contohnya apabila kerajaan membina infrastruktur jalan raya di kawasan pesisiran pantai. Persoalannya adakah penduduk di situ boleh mendapat kesan ataupun multiplier effect. Contohnya apabila diwujudkan jalan raya, perhubungan dan sebagainya, maknanya dengan sendirinya ia boleh menggalakkan lagi perniagaan di kawasan sekitar tersebut. Dan kita harap perniagaan, peluang-peluang perniagaan yang terhasil daripada infrastruktur yang dibina oleh kerajaan ini dapat memberi manfaat dan juga dapat mencipta peluang pekerjaan kepada penduduk kita. Khususnya di kawasan tersebutlah.
Ya, Jan, seperti yang dinyatakan oleh Dr. Dayan tadi, tak adalah yang tak ada elektrik, tak ada menikmati kemudahan air ya, Dr. Dayang ya.
Saya sambung sikit apa yang Dr. Jabbar cakap tadi ya. Selain daripada mengurangkan perbezaan ini, fokus kerajaan sekarang untuk mencapai negara maju, negara membangun dalam tahun 2030 adalah membangunkan satu masyarakat yang talented, berbakat, okey, tenaga kerja yang berbakat. Yang mana kalau kita lihat bajet yang telah dibentangkan tadi, kerajaan juga menumpukan kepada STEM, Science, Technology, English and Mathematics, yang mana ianya memang STEM ni bukan something yang baru, tapi ianya diteruskan. Dan sekarang kita lihat ada Science Park Science Park yang telah ditubuhkan untuk pusat sains untuk memperkenalkan lagi STEM ini. Dan begitu juga kerajaan kita lihat belanjawan menumpukan kepada digital talent dan juga graduate enhancement. Kita sedar bahawa norma baru sekarang telah mewujudkan banyak retrenchment, banyak banyak pengangguran. Jadi salah satu usaha kerajaan Sarawak adalah mewujudkan what do we call just now, graduate enhancement training 4.0. Yang ini selain daripada melatih masyarakat menjadi digital tenaga pekerja yang digital dan talented, ia juga memberi peluang pekerjaan kepada graduate yang lepasan universiti yang sekarang ini memang sangat mencabarlah untuk mencari pekerjaan.
Dalam keadaan negara kita dilanda oleh pandemik COVID-19 ya, Dr. Dayang Afizah. Tadi ada yang Amat Berhormat Ketua Menteri juga menyentuh mengenai digital ekonomi ya, Dr. Jabbar. Kita ada Sarawak Pay, satu-satunya negeri yang ada memulakan aplikasi Sarawak Pay pada tahun 2017. Saya percaya ramai di antara kita yang dah memanfaatkan Sarawak Pay. Pandangan doktor, kalau sebelum ini mungkin nak bayar bil ke post office ya, ke pejabat pos, ke bank, tapi sekarang ni semuanya di ujung jari anda. Jadi bagaimana Dr. Jabbar melihat teknologi yang ada ini mampu membuatkan kita menjadi lebih melahirkan masyarakat yang lebih berilmu, Dr. Jabbar, dalam dunia teknologi digital khasnya?
Ya, memang betul, dan salah satu yang bagi saya yang menarik dalam fokus kerajaan negeri ini adalah apabila kerajaan memfokuskan kepada digital ekonomi, yang mana kita meningkatkan keupayaan ekonomi digital lah. Dan sebenarnya ekonomi digital ini boleh melonjakkan lagi peluang, selain daripada memberi kemudahan kepada rakyat seperti mana Sarawak Pay dan sebagainya, ia juga boleh meningkatkan maksudnya market peluang perniagaan kepada masyarakat, kerana kita boleh peniaga-peniaga di kawasan luar bandar misalnya, mereka boleh memasarkan produk bukan setakat di kawasan masing-masing tetapi ke dunia luar. Dengan itu maksudnya dengan itu kita boleh mengubah sebenarnya, mewujudkan satu lagi peluang khususnya untuk para usahawan. Mungkin ramai yang terjejas, usahawan-usahawan kita yang terjejas oleh kerana COVID-19. Tetapi dengan teknologi digital ini mungkin boleh mencipta peluang pasaran baru yang belum kita terokai sebelum ini. Cuma yang saya nak ingatkan adalah apabila digital ekonomi ini kadang-kadang memerlukan latihan. Jadi saya harap kepakaran menggunakan IT dan sebagainya. Cuma saya mengharapkan dalam bajet ini nanti mungkin boleh diperuntukkan lebih sedikit bagaimana nak melatih usahawan-usahawan memanfaatkan teknologi digital. Usahawan dan juga masyarakat kita lah. Bagaimana memanfaatkan teknologi digital, meneroka peluang baru untuk sama-sama mendapat peluang ataupun mendapat manfaat yang lebih besar dengan digital ekonomi dengan kemudahan yang kita ada.
Ya, baik Dr. Jabar. Mungkin Dr. Dayang, anda dapat simpulkan daripada apa yang kita bincangkan pada tengah hari ini secara ringkasnya, Dr. Dayang.
Secara ringkas kalau diikutkan banyak lagi saya nak cakap ni.
Banyak lagi nak cakap.
Banyak lagi sebab banyak insentif-insentif kerajaan yang telah diperkenalkan. Saya nak cakap satu, Sarawak Rental Assistance Scheme ni, itu yang mana memberi manfaat kepada warga negara yang B40 kan ke bawah, yang mana kerajaan memberi rental assistance sebanyak 200 sebulan, yang mana saya rasa ini sangat membantu golongan-golongan B40 dalam konteks ini. Jadi secara keseluruhan saya boleh simpulkan bahawa Belanjawan Sarawak Kerajaan Negeri 2021 ini sangat mesra rakyat. Kalau kita lihat banyak yang bermodalkan insan. Modal insan itu maksud dia nak mengeluarkan rakyat yang talented, tapi at the same time dalam masa yang sama membantu masyarakat dari pelbagai lapisan, sama ada daripada segi bantuan yang baru, bantuan yang masih diteruskan seperti contohnya BKSS tadi, dan begitu juga dengan dari segi contohnya perumahan dan elawan-elawan lain. Dalam arti kata lain memang sangat mesra rakyat lah.
Ya, baik. Kita nak ucapkan terima kasih kepada ahli panel kita dari pagi tadi sampai ke tengah hari bersama-sama dengan kita. Terima kasih Dr. Abdul Jabar Abdullah, merupakan koordinator keusahawanan dan juga pensyarah Jabatan Ekonomi Fakulti Pengurusan dan Perniagaan Universiti Teknologi Mara UiTM Jangan Sarawak. Terima kasih Dr. Jabar. Dan juga terima kasih Profesor Madya Dr. Dayang Afizah binti Awang Merikan, Timbalan Dekan Penyelidikan dan Pengkomersialan dan merupakan pensyarah Fakulti Ekonomi dan Perniagaan Unimas. Terima kasih Dr. Dayang.
Terima kasih.
Mana tahu tahun depan kita jumpa lagi.
InsyaAllah.
Terima kasih banyak-banyak. Baik, apa yang dapat disimpulkan di sini, Belanjawan Negeri Sarawak untuk tahun 2021 adalah berteraskan mesra rakyat, bertujuan untuk menggerakkan Sarawak terus membangun menuju negeri maju pada tahun 2030. Kita harapkan apa yang telah dibawakan membawa manfaat untuk semua. Baik, sekian dulu rancangan Belanjawan Negeri Sarawak 2021 dibawakan dari Auditorium P. Ramlee, RTM Kuching, Sarawak, dan kita jumpa lagi. Salam sejahtera kembali bersama kami Sarawak FM.